Hello everyone, today is 6th of March, now it's 15 past 9. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first news update. And well, let's begin with the short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. Sector by sector in Kherson direction, there was no crucial changes. Only noticeable event may be that the Russian side managed to destroy yet another Ukrainian MiG-29 during the previous 12 to 24 hours. In Zaporozhye sector of the front line, also no changes on line of contact. Main hotspot is, of course, Rabotina settlement on Orechov bridgehead, which is, by the way, partially controlled by Russian forces. Southern part, basically, is controlled by Russian forces, northern part by Ukrainian forces, and central part is in a gray zone. When it comes to South Donetsk sector of the front line, main hotspot is, of course, Novomikhalovka settlement. This village, by the way, quite a long, stretched village, geographically speaking. And well, according to latest reports of Russian military channels, Russian forces managed to conduct quite successful local-scale offensive operations, and now at least half of this village is controlled by Russian troops, and many military experts are predicting that Ukrainian units will be forced to flee this settlement in upcoming days. Also reports about successful local-scale offensive operation of Russian forces in Pobeda settlement area. This is Donetsk sector of the front line, southern part of Donetsk sector, and in the same southern flank of Donetsk sector, Krasnogorovka is a main hotspot, of course, and Georgievka on the western side of Marinka. And there is reports about significant progress of Russian armed forces in Georgievka area, and at least half of this village is also under full Russian control now. And when it comes to Krasnogorovka, last more or less battle-capable stronghold with the defense lines in hands of Kiev regime, despite deployment of most battle-capable brigades in this direction, Ukrainian armed forces were unable to force Russian units out of this settlement, and according to latest reports, exactly opposite had happened, and Russian armed forces established control not over this southern part of the Krasnogorovka, southern side of this railway, but also managed to enter the Krasnogorovka on the northern side of railway, cross basically this railway, which is a significant development. But yet again, without photo or video confirmation, hard to tell. But just take a look at the village itself. It's a big village with plenty of fortified positions of Ukrainian armed forces, and of course, battle for this settlement will take quite a long time, at least several weeks, I guess. When it comes to northern or central, by the way, central direction of Donetsk sector, Avdiivka and surrounding territories, main hotspots are, of course, still Toninka, Orlovka and Berdichi. Clashes are continuing for control of this settlement. And when it comes to Berdichi, yesterday Russian armed forces destroyed third Abrams tank in this in vicinity of this village. And by the way, rumors are circulating now that Russian armed forces destroyed fourth one, also fourth Abrams tank. Although in case of this third Abrams, we know that tank was destroyed for sure, because we have some photo and video evidences. And dear friends, if you have not seen my yesterday's episode of Headlines, well, I recommend to check that out, because I shared in that update photo and video confirmation of this destroyed third Abrams tank. And head of DPR, Denis Pushilin, head of Donetsk People's Republic, made a statement that according to his information, Kiev regime deployed in direction of Berdichi some 5 Abrams tanks, and 3 of them have been already destroyed. Although, by the way, as I said, rumors are circulating now about destruction of 4th Abrams tanks. Maybe during the day we will receive visual confirmation of that. Yet again, no big deal. I mean, tank is a tank. Abrams tank no any better than Leopard 2 or Challenger 2. But because of this propaganda in the Western media that and presentation of these Western weapon systems, including Abrams tanks, as some kind of wonder weapons, of course, society and media are paying attention when this Western-made equipment is destroyed. For example, yesterday, by the way, Russian Defense Ministry and military channels shared information, and there are many videos circulating, and I share those videos on my Telegram channel of destruction of HIMARS MLRS system and many other weapon systems that cost much more than Abrams tanks do. So, and plenty of air defense systems are destroyed this time. Just in the last 24 to 48 hours, Russian forces destroyed 3 HIMARS MLRS systems, by the way. And each of them costs at least like 5 million, something like that, dollars. But anyway, let's continue. Next is, of course, northern flank of Donetsk sector of the front line, and here main hotspot is, of course, village of Krasnaya or Ivanovskaya, and according to some reports, Russian forces are controlling now up to 70-80% of this village. Ukrainian forces have no chance to withstand Russian pressure and basically retreating from this settlement. With this rate of speed, I guess in next couple of days, probably before end of this week, Krasnaya will become under full Russian control, and then, of course, Russian side will shift its attention towards Chisov Yar itself, and the first battleground in Chisov Yar gonna be this district. Of course, I call it Canal, which is, located on the eastern side of Water Canal, and this battle also gonna be quite difficult, because just take a look at the map, by the way. It's plenty of high-rising apartments here, and of course Ukrainian forces have many strong points, fire points in this district, also industrial zone. So yes, battle for Chisov Yar will of course take time and will be difficult battle. But eventually, of course, Russian forces will prevail and establish control over the Chisov Yar. I have no doubts about it. Not just Chisov Yar, by the way. In my reading of big picture, and you know my take, after this conflict will end, entire Ukraine, with the exception of western regions, will be under full Russian control. Although, of course, after Medvedev gave his famous at this point speech a few days ago, during this marathon of knowledge society here in Russia, map was presented behind him in big screen. There was a map, and I spoke about it previously in previous videos. There was a map on which you can clearly see landlocked area with the Kiev and surrounding areas designated as a Ukraine. So maybe chances that Ukraine will stay on the political map as a state after this special military operation, as a landlocked state with Kiev and surrounding areas, chances probably increased. I was giving 1% for such possibility, but well, probably after that presentation from Medvedev, these chances are like, I don't know, 20% that Kiev and surrounding areas will remain as a landlocked quasi-state. Who knows? And also, by the way, Russian military channels are reporting that in Dnipropetrovsk area, Ukrainian plane was, crashed. We don't have exact information. This plane crashed because it was damaged as a result of Russian work of Russian air defense systems, or it has experienced some technical malfunction. But whatever the case, in Dnipropetrovsk area, another Ukrainian plane crashed and destroyed. And this is it when it comes to short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. I remind you, dear friends, that if you want to learn some more detailed information on these local scale skirmishes on line of contact, there are plenty of military channels that are providing great volume of information on this local scale skirmishes. I will continue with some additional news, and well, I want to make this update like no longer than 30-35 minutes, so let's go through the news. RT is reporting that Zelensky would lose elections according to polls if elections will take place, presidential elections will take place now. So let's go through the numbers here. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky would not win if elections were held right now. According to poll made public on Tuesday, the government has postponed all elections in Ukraine for the duration of the conflict with Russia. A survey carried out by Ukrainian pollster SOCIS, whatever that means, shows Zelensky trailing in the first round and then losing the runoff to the recently sacked General Valery Zaluzhny, who was, of course, head of General Staff of Ukrainian Army. This AOCIS survey shows Zaluzhny receiving 41% of the vote in the first round and 67.5% in the runoff, while the current president of Ukraine, Zelensky, would receive only 23.7% initially in the first round and no more than 32.5% in the second round. So yes, Zelensky is doomed, by the way. In any case, for our community, this is not a secret. We know about it. I shared so many times information that Zelensky is definitely not the most popular politician in Ukraine, and Zaluzhny's rating is much higher. And well, we now have a confirmation of this from Ukrainian survey. Although for some, for public, some members at least of the public in the Western states, this information may become as a somewhat surprise, because after all, Zelensky was presented by Western propaganda as some kind of Churchill of the modern era and that kind of crap, man, which is insult to UK and the UK's history. How can you compare this drug addict mass murderer to the Churchill, who may be divisive figure in Ukraine, not Ukraine, but in UK itself. Not everyone has same approach to Churchill's policies and politics. Churchill's figure, but he is a historical figure nevertheless. One of the, one of the most influential figures in 20th century. To compare with him, Zelensky, if I was a citizen of UK, I would be insulted by this. RIA Novosti's report, by the way, that, well, Macron has allies, by the way, in his craziness. He is not alone. And this time, President of Czech Republic, Pavel, come up with strong statements and calls for EU member states, NATO member states, to further escalate with Russia, to do more and not to be afraid to act to protect Kyiv regime or to support Kyiv regime, to defeat Russia on the battlefield, and then the rest of the nonsense that we are hearing from Western ruling elites. And well, it's sad, man. It's sad that this type of suicidal, crazy individuals are presidents and prime ministers in the Western states, man. It's just, it's a shame. It's a shame for Europe. But anyway, let's continue. RIA Novosti's report that, according to Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu, 2 new military districts have been created in Russia. Announcement was made some time ago about it, but now it's official. 2 new military districts have been created. One is in Leningrad military district, and other is Moscow military district. And of course, this step was made as a response to newly emerged threats from NATO, including, by the way, Finland becoming NATO member state and Sweden joining NATO. Of course, officially Sweden is not yet a member of NATO, but it's only formality left during the next summit, NATO summit, which will take place in US, I believe, this summer. I guess Sweden will be officially accepted into NATO. Anyway, let's continue. And RT's report that EU continues to press this topic of using frozen Russian assets for Ukrainian army. The funds belonging to Moscow's central bank have received basically nearly 4.4 billion euro in interests over the past year. And now, by the way, EU bureaucrats want to steal these assets. Okay, let's go through the news. By the way, the EU discussing their option of using profits generated by frozen Russian assets for not only reconstruction in Ukraine, but also for military support. The blog's foreign policy chief, Joseph Borrell, has stated, okay, just do it, man. At this point, no one cares. We know here in Russia that these frozen assets is basically stolen from Russia already. And at this point, it's just too boring even to listen day after day to these statements from high-ranking officials of EU member states, US, and other members of this collective West, when they are bragging about the stealing of these Russian assets. And if they care, and they're trying to pretend like they're caring about international law, and that's why there are, so much discussion around how they're gonna steal these Russian assets, when no one in this world care anymore about it. Just take it, man. You already steal it. We all know you are thief. All entire ruling elites of the West, they are thieves, by the way, criminals, and no one respects them anyway. No one in this world has any respect for Western ruling class or Western ruling elites. How are you going to respect them, man? I would not even shake hands with them, man. Never. Because they are disgrace of humanity. So, RT's report. And then in the future, probably I will just ignore any information about these frozen assets, because it's really boring at this point. Who cares, man? Who cares? RT's report that ICC issues arrest warrant for top Russian military commanders. Unbelievable, man. ICC, of course, yet another tool in hands of Western ruling elites. Hardly this institution can be called court. It's just a gathering of criminals that calling themselves judges, but in reality are assets of CIA, obviously. And therefore, no one really cares in this world what they are, what decisions they are making. And in this particular case, they issued arrest warrant for head of Russian Black Sea Fleet and Russian strategic forces. Yet again, who cares, man? Who cares? I'm sharing this information just to once again highlight that no one cares about this ICC. In reality, and these games of the Western ruling elites, when they created this plenty of different so-called institutions, and they were using these institutions to impose their will over the countries worldwide, this whole construction is failing down, because it's all fake, and the world see it perfectly well. Some states may afraid too much of repercussions from the Western ruling class, and therefore still obeying some orders. But eventually, when Brics becomes more and more powerful in the world stage, and which will of course automatically automatically destroy influence of the Western states, Western world, well, then I guess all these countries worldwide that are under pressure of the West right now will feel free, finally, and well, that will be final end of the Western dominance in this world. Anyway, let's continue. RT is reported Kiev mayor blasts Zelensky for firing top general. President Vladimir Zelensky was wrong to fire the top general of the Ukrainian armed forces, Valery Zaluzhny. Kiev's mayor Vitaly Klitschko has stated. Klitschko, not the first time, positioning himself in the camp of Zaluzhny, or at least trying to be seen as a member of this Zaluzhny's camp. Of course, he cares about his own future, if he has any future in Ukraine, as a politician or otherwise. And, well, I'm not at all surprised that he is critical of Zelensky, and he is able to openly criticize Zelensky, which is a rare occasion, but lately, because Zelensky's position has shaken significantly, and everyone understands that his time is up, basically. It's only like matter of few months and he will be removed. And therefore, more and more these public figures in Ukraine are there to say something openly. Klitschko criticizing Zelensky, former president of Ukraine, Poroshenko, was complaining in Brussels to EU leaders about Zelensky and his regime, autocracy, and so on. So yes, process of removal of Zelensky from the office effectively has begun, and it's only formality left. Let's see what kind of scenario will be chosen by Western ruling elites to remove Zelensky. Most likely they will force Zelensky to and Parliament, rather, of Ukraine to appoint a day for presidential elections, and Zaluzhny will become winner of that election. That's how Zelensky gonna be removed from office. But if Zelensky and his criminal associates will disagree with this and will try to stay in power anyway, then, well, then military option comes into play, and I guess Zelensky will be removed from office by force. That's how it's gonna be. But anyway, let me check how long is this video. So yes, 22 minutes. Let's continue with some additional news. This is Interfax news agency's report that, well, EU wants now to further increase spendings on military, to buy more weapons, more ammunition, and the rest of their stuff for their armed forces. Not just because they are expecting this war with Russia. No, they just want to be less dependent on US. Lately, by the way, probably you noticed that last couple of days there are less and less statements from high-ranking officials in the West about incoming war with Russia. Maybe they realize that people no longer take them seriously, and they look like crazy mad clowns, because they are. And therefore, well, they are now shifting this propaganda towards, well, independence of the EU, and well, they have to spend more on defense. They have to enrich military-industrial complex even further because they are too dependent on US. Which is true, by the way. They are, of course, dependent on US, especially now, because many members of EU effectively demilitarize themselves by sending almost everything they have to Kiev regime. So, you know, it is what it is. Surprisingly, Western societies in the Western states, in Europe in particular, are, you know, in terms of majority, are still, you know, just observing situation, and seems like no one really cares. I find it fascinating, but it is what it is, man. RIA Novosti's report that Foreign Minister of Hungary, Peter Szijjártó, made a quite interesting statement that Hungary's foreign ministry did not well, foreign ministry of Hungary basically refused Zelensky to have a meeting with the prime minister of Hungary, Orban, which is well, quite a stuff, isn't it? Which is quite a stuff. But yet again, from Hungary, this was expected, because even Szijjártó noticed in his statements that Budapest over a dozen times demanded from Kiev rights of ethnic Hungarians to be respected and re-established, because in some cases ethnic Hungarians lost some rights indefinitely. Not all of them have opportunities to study their history, languages under pressure, many other issues, and Budapest was always open in its critique towards Kiev regime. And well, according to Szijjártó, yes, one of the reasons why this meeting did not happen between Zelensky and Orban is that Kiev regime ignored Budapest's demands when it comes to rights of ethnic Hungarians in Ukraine, mainly, of course, in Transcarpathia region. Anyway, let's continue. RIA Novosti's report that according to Ansar Allah movement statement, or also known as the Houthi rebels in Yemen, they targeted two US warships in Red Sea. Missiles were launched towards these warships, and even though Houthi rebels did not say how successful this attack was or unsuccessful, I guess US warships managed to shut down air defense systems of those US warships, managed to shut down these drones, because otherwise most likely we will hear for now about some damage to, if damage occur on those ships, but Pentagon did not make any statement, at least for now. And one day, by the way, one of the attacks of Houthi rebels may reach its target, and some US military warship or UK's military warship or German's military warship may be significantly damaged and maybe even sunk, who knows. TASS news agencies report that Russian diplomatic mission in the UN made a statement about necessity to create Palestinian state. So let's translate, by the way, enter this sentence, because it is important, of course, and I want to be precise. Come on now. So creation of Palestinian state is a prerequisite for the ensuring peace in the Middle East region. Without this, relapses of confrontation and outbreaks of violence will inevitably reoccur. And this was stated on Tuesday by the first deputy permanent representative of Russia to the UN, Dmitry Polyansky, and well, this is official Russian position that Palestinian state should be created. And by the way, I believe Foreign Minister of Saudi Arabia yesterday made a similar statement with demand, not demand, but he basically called the world community that, you know, to acknowledge Palestinian state, and well, I guess this is the way to go. Although, of course, Netanyahu and his associates in leadership of modern Israel made quite clear to world community that they are not even considering two-state solution, and will do whatever it takes to make sure that Palestinians will never have any state. So unfortunately, at this point, we don't really have ground for optimism when it comes to Middle East. It's exactly the opposite. Yesterday I did share on my Telegram channel statements of Defense Minister of Israel, who said that risk of direct confrontation between Israel and Lebanon, Lebanese Hezbollah movement, is higher than ever, which is definitely a significant statement, because full-scale war between Israel and Lebanon, Israel and Hezbollah, may become a regional conflict, which will devastate not just the Middle East but also entire world. RIA Novosti's report that, well, by the way, this bloody individual, this bloody mass murderers terrorist, Victoria Nuland, is leaving office, leaving State Department. Statement about it was made by Antony Blinken, head of US State Department, and well, she will be remembered by history as a not just a terrorist and mass murderer, but as a butcher of Ukrainians, butcher of Ukrainian society. We all remember her role in 2014 during that Maidan coup that took place in Ukraine, when she was delivering these cookies to Nazi criminals that were actively involved in that coup d'etat. So yes, she's a butcher of the Ukraine and Ukrainian society, and that's how this disgrace for humanity will be remembered by history. Anyway, let's continue. RIA Novosti's report that wife of former US President, and I'm talking about Michelle Obama, wife of Barack Obama, made a statement that she has no plans to run as a candidate for presidency in US. And well, this statement may be somewhat interesting and important, because many people were expecting, including me, by the way, that at some point Democrats will present Michelle Obama as the main candidate for presidency. But I don't know. At least for now, Michelle Obama is stating that no, she has no such plans. But things may change. Things may change, you know, quite rapidly. And in months or 2 months' time, she may make some other decision, other statement. Who knows? With current frontrunner of Democrats, Biden, they don't have any chance, really. They don't have any chance. Entire world see Democrats now as abusers, man, of elderly, because that's what is happening, man. Biden should not be in office. He should be somewhere in I don't know, man, to rest in nature. I don't know, just to have a rest. He's old man. He is losing touch with reality, unfortunately for him and his family. And it definitely seems from outside of US at least that Democrats, neolips and the deep state of US is just abusing this elderly man that don't really understand what the hell is going on. Anyway, let's continue. TASS News Agency's report that, well, yesterday there was a big issues with the major Western platforms when it comes to social networks like Facebook, Instagram, and then plenty others. For several hours, these platforms were difficult to use. And well, who knows what happened, by the way. There are speculations there that Russians hacked internet in the US, Chinese did it. There are also rumors that this was an inside job in US, because there was a big Tuesday or something, like some political stuff was going on inside the US itself. Whatever the case, this information once again highlights how that these big platforms, by the way, despite the billions and billions that they are spending on their security, they are just programs. They are just programs, and they can be hacked, and they can be shut down for a short time, or maybe even forever. And by the way, how long is this video? 35 minutes. Okay, I will just go through the headlines. RT reports that Macron refuses to back Biden on Russian assets seizure. Well, surprising statement from Macron. The potential confiscation of funds would violate international law and ultimately weaken Europe. The French president has warned. I didn't expect that from Macron, but well, RIA Novosti's report that Putin, by the way, president of Russian Federation, made quite interesting statements that Russia has a record achievements when it comes to agricultural development of agricultural sector and export of agricultural produce. And for example, in previous year, Russia exported agricultural produce for $43.5 billion US dollars, which is well, quite a number really. And Russia became fourth biggest exporter of agricultural produce in the world, and the number one when it comes to grain exports. So, by the way, you remember I was saying, I did say many times that Russia has a huge potential in terms of agriculture sector, and this information and these numbers definitely confirms my take on this topic. Give it 10-15 years and Russia will be number one exporter of agricultural produce in this world. It has everything it needs to achieve this, and it will happen. Just give it 10-15 years and Russia will be major breadbasket for this world. It's already a major one, but it will become even bigger. And it's gonna be good for the world, by the way, of course. For Russia, it will benefit Russia and it will benefit the world. Brics to create a blockchain-based payment system. So Brics groups of emerging economies plans to create a payment system based on digital technologies. Yuri Ushakov, a senior foreign policy aide to Russian President Vladimir Putin, has told us in an interview published on Tuesday. Interesting news, by the way, interesting news, and important one. I'm constantly saying that Brics definitely needs to come up with some alternatives to the Western financial and banking system, to some alternative currency, world reserve currency also, and well, work definitely is done in this direction, and hopefully in upcoming years we will have these alternative systems that will give us better opportunities for trade between the countries worldwide. And by the way, TASS news agencies report that Russia and China will deploy nuclear reactor to the moon somewhere around 2033, 2035. Two countries have agreement since 2021 to cooperate in moon space missions, and well, they are on the way. And this is it for now. Hopefully you will find this update interesting, and if so, please click that like button, leave some commentary just about anything, and share links to my videos and my channels with your friends on any of the platforms that you are actively using. And if you think this channel is interesting, useful, informative, and deserves to exist, please consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal, buy me a coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. All the links in the description box or in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care.